Welcome to She Stitch, and this is Melanie, and thank you for joining us today for the next stitch in our Just Another Crochet Along. The stitch of the week this week is going to be this beautiful mesh stitch, and I used my boye hook today, the 5.0 millimeter or the H in American sizes. And if you're doing the crochet along with us, you're just going to start out with a starting chain of 32. And if you're not doing the crochet along with us and you would like to work up this stitch in a different size, you're just going to use a multiple of 2 plus 2, so any even number. And let me go ahead and show you some different sizes, examples that I have worked up for you today. I have a very thin yarn here. This is like a vintage Red Heart luster sheen. It's a very beautiful yarn that was given to me from an estate stash. So I'm not sure if it's still available, but you can see that this is a beautiful stitch to use with a yarn like this. It's an I-cord type of yarn. It's all acrylic, but you can see it's very stretchy. Be great for a cover-up or something like that if you wanted to crochet some apparel out of it. It's a beautiful look, very easy to create. And then I also just worked it up in an all white, and this is just a simple white acrylic yarn that I have here. So you can see this portion here is done in the mesh stitch, so you can see it has a nice open pattern, and this here is just regular single crochet. So you can see it could create a great contrast if you're using this stitch to create an apparel item or something. You could use this for areas that require full coverage, and then just the mesh stitch for areas that you don't need full coverage for. Then my next sample is a Woolly's Lion Brand Thick and Quick. It's a beautiful yarn. It's a size 6 chunky weight. I love the color change in this stitch with this yarn. I think that this is a great stitch to use for chunky yarn because it's still growing very quickly, which is, I think, the #1 reason why all of us like to use that chunky yarn. But it's still going to be a little bit more light than a lot of other stitches because it has that airiness. So you can see it works up just beautiful in this Lion Brand Thick and Quick. And then another sample I have today, the last sample I want to share, is my Peaches and Cream. And you can see here, I did a couple different things with this little swatch. So this is our stitch that we will be learning today with the mesh stitch. And this is what it looks like if instead of a single crochet you use double crochet. So it is a very simple stitch, but I just wanted to show you that it is also possible with a double crochet for more of a mesh or open look. But today we will be using just a single crochet to keep it nice and a little bit more solid. So I will join you at the end of our chain 32, or the starting chain that you choose. Once again, if you're doing this in a different size, it's going to be any even number. I'll see you at the chain. Alright, so here we are at the end of our chain 32, and today for the tutorial I'm going to be using my Peaches and Cream. It's another one of the cones, and this is the Energetic Emerald Energy. I'll include the link to this yarn, an affiliate link to this yarn, in my video description if you're interested. So this is a cotton yarn, so the gauge is going to be a little bit different, but this will be the pattern for the crochet along. So what we're going to do first is we're going to skip 3 of the back bumps and go into the 4th. And I like to use the back bump because I feel like it keeps that bottom nice and straight. So we're going to do a single crochet. So skip 1, 2, 3, go into the 4th one, and just an American single crochet. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So what you have here is your turning chain is going to start is going to count as a single crochet and a chain 1. So that's why we've got 3 there. A single crochet normally counts as 2 chains, so we have 3 there to do the single crochet and a chain 1. And then what we're going to do here is chain 1, skip 1, and go into the next stitch here with another single crochet. So as I was saying before, this is a super duper easy stitch, and that's what we're going to be repeating the whole pattern, is chain 1, skip 1, and do a single crochet into the next stitch. So we're going to do that all the way across the first chain. So chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. So let's go ahead and finish off the row by doing that. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. Now if you're looking in the background here, you can see on the left I have our moss stitch, and on the right I have my pike stitch. Now the moss stitch is starting off the same way as this, and I'll show you what the only difference is once we get to row 2. So the moss stitch is also used creating the, sorry, I didn't know if I did that chain. The moss stitch is also done using that single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet repetition. And then the pike stitch, the only thing that's different about that is it's using an extended single crochet instead of a regular single crochet. So if you like this stitch and you think it works up nice and fast, but you want a little bit of a different look, you can check out my moss stitch or pike stitch videos. Those have a little bit of a diagonal effect, whereas using the mesh stitch, you're going to get that nice squared off consistent look that we get in that blue in the background. So go ahead and finish off your row by doing the chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, and I will meet you at the end for our last stitch and the turn. So here we are at the end. I've got 2 stitches left, this little light blue one and then that white one. So we're just going to do a normal ending or finish off our repetition there and end it with a single crochet. And now this is the end of row 1. And for this pattern, we're going to be using the alternate turning chain, which means we're going to chain 1 and then turn. And then we're just going to do a single crochet on top of the single crochet from the row below. So we have the chain 1 here already, then just go ahead and single crochet into that next set of V's. Both loops. And single crochet. So that's our first stitch of row 2. And then we're going to do the same exact repetition. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, then go into the next stitch, which happens to be a single crochet. So in this stitch, we're always going to be attaching our single crochets on top of the single crochet from the row below. So that is what is different than the moss stitch. So we're always going to insert here into the top of that single crochet from the row below. So we're going to, let me rotate this a little bit. We're going to go through 2 loops, back loop and front loop, and you end up going, you're going to have just one piece of yarn there and then the rest of the stitch here to kind of help you find the right place. So single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, go into the next stitch, which is always going to be that single crochet. So that's our super easy repetition. And we're going to continue that the whole rest of the way across the stitch. So just always make sure that you're chaining 1 and then going into the top of the next single crochet, not into the chain space, into the single crochet. So the moss stitch and the pike stitch that are in the background, we use the chain stitch or the chain space to insert our hook. But on this stitch, the mesh stitch, we're not going to do that. We're going to go on top of the single crochet. And because of that, this grows faster than the moss stitch. The rows are taller. So you're going to be using less yarn with this mesh stitch. So I think out of all of our patterns so far, this is the lightest pattern. So this is the most yarn friendly stitch because we're not using up too much of that yarn. Alright, so go ahead and meet me at the end, and I'll make sure that you've got the ends and the beginnings down. But for this stitch, that's pretty much it. Oh, I'm almost at the end, so I might as well just hang around here. So at the end here, we're going to go into this next single crochet, and then we have here at the end our chain 4. So we're going to want to make sure that we skip this first V and go into that second V to finish off our edge here. So the front loop and the back loop there, and then do the single crochet. So that's the last stitch. Oops, I forgot to do the chain 1 first. So make sure you chain 1 and then go into the end. So skip 1, then go to the next. And there you have it. Now, if you're doing the crochet along with us, we're going to have 16 single crochets all the way across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, the other turn. And it will be that way all the way up. It's just a 1 row repeat. So let me go ahead and do that alternating turning chain with you again. So we're going to just chain 1, then turn, and then we're going to skip that chain that we just did and work into the single crochet front and back loop. Insert your hook. Here, we'll pull loop up, go through 2. So even the turn on this stitch is a chain 1 and then single crochet. And then we're just off again doing that same repetition, single crochet, chain 1. So as you can see, it's a super easy stitch. I hope you enjoy it. I think this is going to be our shortest video because this stitch is so easy. And I kind of think that this is easier to do as a first beginner stitch than just a single crochet, straight across single crochet, because I think the way that the edges work in this stitch, it's very obvious what the last stitch is. Let me jump ahead and show you what I'm talking about. Sometimes when we're doing the single crochet, it's hard to tell where we're going to put that hook. But as you can see here, we know that this is a single crochet, a chain 1, so we need to go into that single crochet at the end. And it's going to prevent us from dropping stitches because of the way this is marked up. And we also know we're only ever going to do 1 single crochet, so we're not going to try to stick 2 single crochets in there. So we're also not going to make our edges grow. And I know that's one of the most difficult things with when we start out to crochet, and even when we're experienced crocheters, is to not mess up those edges. So I really think this stitch is a lot easier than doing straight single crochets for those edges. All right, so I think that's everything you need to know for this one. And let me just finish off this row. I'll do that turn with you one more time to make sure that you've got it. And then, oops, I skipped a chain. That was what I tended to do wrong. And every pattern there seems to be a common mistake that I do. And for me, it was just missing that chain because I was in too much of a hurry there. So single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1. All right, so you can see here, this is the extra chain 1 from the turning chain. And what we're going to want to do is go into the front and the back loop. So if we turn it backwards here, or look at it from top down, we can see the front loop and the back loop. So we want to make sure we get into that front loop and the back loop of the alternate turning chain. It can be a little bit tricky sometimes. And then do our single crochet, chain 1, turn, single crochet. So even the turns on this follow that same repetition of single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, etc. So I hope that you enjoy this stitch. One thing I want to make sure to point out, if you are having a hard time, one way that you can check to make sure that your stitch is going okay is to check out the stitches, and they're going to be always going on top of each other, side to side, a little bit like that. It's kind of hard to see on my dark Cape Cod blue, but you can see that these are always going to go boom, 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 boom. A little bit crooked because of how the stitch is set up, but they're always going to be on top of each other. Let me grab one of my other colors to help accentuate that. I'll grab my woolies. So you can see they're always going to be following that straight row. So front side and the wrong side of the stitch, then the front side. Maybe this will be a little bit easier. So it's always going to be, you're always going to get that line of rows. So if something is a little bit off, you'll be able to see that the lines for the columns aren't lining up straight. So if you have any questions, comment down below. If you're not already following our Facebook group, I would be delighted if you would join us and share your results there. It has been a great community, and it has been growing very rapidly. I think we're well above 5,000 members now, which is very exciting. So it's a fun place to come and share how you're doing on the crochet along with other people, see their results, and get the insider scoop on the stitch and how it is turning out for everybody. I also have an Instagram account, and this week I started a new Instagram account, which is I'm calling the Crochet Hype House. So the point of that Instagram is just to create hype or attention for other people's Instagram accounts. So if you have an Instagram account, make sure to check out my Crochet Hype House, just to increase the visibility to, or the audience of your Instagram posts. I'm trying to, help us all get seen a little bit more with our patterns, our work, and our crochet tools. All right, so here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of this pattern. It works up really quick. It grows great. It has a very fun, light texture, and I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, like I said, comment down below. If not, I'll see you next week, and if anybody asks where I am, just tell them she's stitching.